Hello, hello everyone. Hi, it's Wednesday and we are here once again. My name is Leigh Ralston and I'm super glad that you are here. I'm representing Faber-Castell USA, and of course, Michaels, thank you for doing this classes. And it's always such a joy to have every single one of you here. And I am just quickly browsing through the chat so I can see, hello, Barbara. I've seen people from Oregon. Yeah, my memory's not that good. So, but anyways, hello everybody. Again, my name is Leigh, and thank you so much for being here and joining us. It's going to be a fun class. I know I say this every single time I start the class, but it really is. It's going to be fun because we're going to be using some watercolors, and it's one of my favorite mediums. I must be at the top of my list. So let me know if you guys have been doing lettering. So whether it's using a brush pen or, a marker, or you've tried brush lettering using some watercolors too. I'd love to see that in the chat. But anyways, I'm going to go head over to the overhead camera. I kind of go through the supplies that we're going to use today, and we'll chit chat a little bit before we get this class started. Indiana, hello, Terry. Okay, completely new. All right, so here in front of me, I have the Faber-Castell Modern Calligraphy Kit. I do apologize, I don't have a brand new unopened one. This is the one that I have here, but this set is so full packed with supplies, everything that you're gonna need, it's here. Okay, so let's just kind of go over. You're going to get 4 tubes of watercolor, and this is the watercolors. And then you get 3 Pitt Artist pens. You get 3 different tips. You have a 1.5, a brush tip, and a soft brush tip. And you'll get some templates and rulers in here that you can use. You'll get a water brush as well, and you'll get a booklet. And then you get some sample lettering sheets that you can use to practice. All right. And then actually this kit, in the booklet, you'll find the website to access the 10 online workshops included. So if you don't have this yet, this is really a good gift for yourself for this holiday, or for someone you love that is a creative. I think they're really going to love this. I know I love mine. That's why it's open already. Okay, so I'm going to go through the chat real quick. All right, so Tennessee, we have Canada in the house today. Hello. Okay, so Patricia said that she tried with brush pens before. And Kelly May said she loves my craft room. Thank you so much. Okay, so Blaine said that she tried lettering in multiple forms. Okay, long time ago took a calligraphy class through a community class, and also please do check out our hand lettering. We did a hand lettering 101 with Faber-Castell and Michaels as well. So I'm pretty sure that that is going to be Michael's YouTube channel. All right, so aside from all the supplies that it's included in the kit, I also have some watercolors in here. If you don't have the specific kit, if you have watercolors, and that will be great. You have some brush pens, and that's great. I also have here some Pitt Artist pens from Faber-Castell as well. That is a brush tip, and also a 1.5 in gold, because I love adding some metallics and accents and all that. All right. Are you excited? I'm so excited. I'm going to get my hands kind of like relaxed in here because I get a little nervous. Oh, yeah, before I forget, water. We're going to use some watercolors, so we need some water to wash our brush. And then I also have here some different type of brush tips of watercolor brushes in here, just in case. We have a number 2. All of this is in round, except for the liner brush, which is number 4. The liner brush is like really, really pointy, and like this one. I love this one too, but it gets a little hard to get used to. But once you get used to, you'll find many different techniques that you can use it with, all right? So number 4, number 2, and then a liner brush. But then I'm going to use my favorite water brush from Faber-Castell as well. The reason why I love the water brush pens is because it has water. So you'll have an automatic water flow. The difficult part with a water brush sometimes, if you're not, if you're new to it and if you haven't used it before, it gets a little, how can I say this? A little challenging sometimes when you have sometimes kind of like a pool of water that comes out of it. So really finding a good quality water brush is really important too. So, all right. And then watercolor pad I have in here. And I also have some mixed media. If you have some mixed media paper, notebook, that will work as well. I have some artist palette in here, just the really simple one, so that I can get our watercolors in here. Okay. All right. Oh, May. Oh, I'm sending you love, my darling Kelly May. Okay. Okay. So here we have it. In this kit, we have yellow gold, we have red violet, we have emerald green, and we have the cobalt blue. And these are really, really pretty colors. We're going to swatch them first. So this alone is really relaxing to me. Just trying to get the watercolor out of the tube. If you have heavy hands like me, just be really careful because these are rich pigments, and so a little goes a long way. Really does. So that would be our yellow gold. This would be the red violet. Just pinching just a smidge because we can always add more. And then we'll have the emerald green here. Oh, look at that. See, I told you. I try so hard sometimes to just really go light. Then my hands, they can be my enemy sometimes. This is beautiful colors. All right, just little. Okay, perfect. All right, in watercolor, the reason why I love watercolor so much is because I'm gonna share with you guys, because there's many different techniques that you can really use with it. And we're gonna go through some of my favorite ones to use when watercoloring. But when it comes to lettering, really, it's pretty much self-explanatory. You don't really need a whole lot of those techniques. The techniques that we're going to have to learn today is kind of learning our brush pen or brush calligraphy. Remember in the brush calligraphy when we were doing the light and the heavy pressure? So to do lettering with brush pens and watercolors, there's a lot of light and heavy pressure involved in here again. But let's go ahead and swatch the colors. I do have a clean paper towel here. Of course, I dropped one of my brushes so we can clean our brushes like this. So this would be the yellow gold. Notice that I added a little bit of water in here. The one challenge, or one of the biggest challenge that I face when it comes to watercolor is the right consistency. When I say right consistency is, am I putting enough water or am I putting too much water in my watercolors? Whether you're using a pan or straight from the tube, you're still going to have to blend your colors and dilute it with water. So it's always my struggle, kind of like, is this, but the thing that helps me a lot is knowing how thick the paint will be. When you see it a little runny, then you know that you're putting too much water in there, but of course it's going to depend if that's that kind of look that you want, that washed look, then of course add more water, dilute it with more water if you want more washed look for your watercolors. But if you really want the full power of your pigment, then make sure that you're just adding enough water. So here I'm going to clean my brush and then move those pigments in here just like that. Look how beautiful this color is. That's just beautiful, rich color. there. Oh, that's just beautiful. And everyone that's here today, let's send a prayer Kelly May's way. Um, I know that I am. Okay, so that one is the red violet. Okay, this one we're going to do our emerald green. Why is it important to swatch your watercolors? Because you want to see how it really looks, how that true tone, that color on your paper, because every paper will be different. This time I'm not using a watercolor paper. This is just actually a mixed media sketch pad from Leuchtturm, and it's thick paper, so it works with a little bit of water. But you know, if it's not a watercolor media pattern, depending on the thickness of your paper as well, it's going to buckle. So if you're using a regular copy paper, you're really not going to be, I'm pretty sure that you're not going to be entirely happy with your watercolor results, just because um, copy papers are not really meant for water mediums. So if you want to enjoy watercolor, to me, it's all about the paper. So if you're using a real nice watercolor paper that will hold water for you to be able to move your colors, and I think you'll have a great experience, and I think you'll really enjoy that process. Okay, so now that we have all those colors swatched, I know that when I mix the red violet and a little bit of that orange, we're going to have a little bit of that yellow, we're going to get an orange. So I'm going to do that because I want some of those tones, especially now that it's fall. And I'm trying my hardest to just get a little bit. I always kind of pinch a little too much. And that's why if you love using watercolor from the tubes, you can always create your own palette. You can buy those empty palettes like that. Then put in your watercolors in there so you don't have to pinch every time and waste a lot of pigments. So here we blended this beautiful burnt orange in here. Look at that. That's gorgeous fall color. So we're going to need some of these color later for our leaves. That's going to be gorgeous. Okay, so now I want to mix another color. This is the beauty of watercolor, because you can create your colors in here. And if you're not familiar with the color wheel and the color theory, I say, oh my gosh, play. Just play around, and that's how you're going to discover things. So I'm going to use yellow and a little bit of that cobalt blue so I can get a lighter green, okay? Or I can use that emerald green and add a little bit of yellow in there too. So that I have yellow. Oh, am I hiding it? Sorry, guys. Okay, and then I'll get the cobalt blue. Go, and then I'll add this one, just a little bit blue, so we can have a really light green in here. I'm just going to mix those two colors. And if I feel like I want to lighten this one, I can always add more of that yellow to bring warmth to it. It's almost like an army green to me. I'll add a little bit more yellow. Okay. Ah, it's beautiful. It's like a beautiful olive green. All right. Now, since I use my brush for that, I'm going to have to wash it real well. Okay, so now that I have all my colors, I feel like if you're using the same color palette, if you're not, that's okay too. So let's go to lettering. What was I talking about? Pressure. Pressure of the way you apply pressure when using your brush pens. I'm so sorry, I'm trying to clean this brush. Okay, So in brush lettering, it's actually in calligraphy. So remember those beautiful thin and thick lines that we see in lettering? Let me grab just a beautiful pit artist in here and say, let's just say write down strokes. See, when I was first starting to do lettering, I thought that the pen was doing this by itself. And I thought that when I bought the pen, I would be automatically creating beautiful thin and thick strokes like this. So I'm like, you know what? I need that pen. I need the pen. And then I learned that it's really not about just the pen. It's really the the pressure that you're using when writing. So every single time in brush calligraphy, every single time you do an upstroke is every motion that you're writing away from you. This is your upstroke right here. Every time I do that, I'm writing away from my body. This is my upstroke, and this is going to be thin lines, which means to get the thin lines, I'm going to have to apply very light pressure, right? This is called the upstroke. Now, the next stroke that we need to learn is the downstroke. I'm going to use a different color just so we can really see it. This is my downstroke. See the thick line over there? Every single time I would write towards me is when it has to be thick lines. And to get the thick lines, I will have to apply heavy pressure. This is called our down stroke. So how do we combine it when we're writing? Look at the letter S in here, upstroke, away from my body. This notebook is too big. So away from me, thin, light pressure. I'm writing towards me. I am applying pressure in my pen. And now away from me again is thin again. So that is going to be the same way when we're going to use the brush pen. To get a thin line, that means we're going to have to apply really, really light pressure. So I'm just dabbing it here, my red violet. Upstroke, thin, upstroke, thin, downstroke, thick. Now notice that when you're applying pressure, you're actually using the body, or some people like to call it the belly of your brush pen. So when you apply that pressure, you're going to apply, you're going to use the belly of your brush. And also notice how I'm using and how I'm holding my brush. I'm not pointing it straight directly into my paper. This is really important right here because this is one of those tips that really changed my progress when it comes to lettering. Because when I'm writing, I would normally hold my pen or my pencil straight directly to my paper. But when you're lettering, you're going to have to hold it around 45-degree angled. And you want your wrist, it doesn't matter if you're a lefty or a righty, you're going to want control over here. So you want this really comfortable on the paper. Notice my hands right here. I'm going to just zoom out just real quick so we can see. So this has to lay comfortably on my page or on my paper, on my desk. And all of these depends on how you hold your pencil or your marker. I know some people hold it this way, some people hold it this way. I hold it this way. I have 4 of my fingers controlling my pencil or my brushes, right? And then this one is going to be laying flat. It has to be comfortable. You don't have to hurt yourself. Let's try that again. Notice the position of my brush pen. Notice my hands. I'm going to try the light or my upstroke. So I'm going to write away from me. This is really light, and I'm just using, barely applying pressure in here. Just especially when you're using a brush and not a marker, because it gets really light, this brush pen, because just with amount of pressure, look, see the difference? Just a little bit amount of pressure, it gives me a thicker stroke. But if I go really light, that's when I get the thin stroke, right? Let's try it now in a downstroke. Using the belly or the body, look how it laid flat. Laid it flat, and then you're going to spread your colors, and then away from me, it's thin. So practice with that letter L. That's a good letter to practice. So apply pressure, going down, and then ease on your pressure and go up away from you. See how that worked? Is there a big change of your strokes? Is there a difference? If you don't see a whole lot of difference, that means you're not going light enough when you're going up or when you're doing your thin strokes. All right, so let's try that again. One more time. Letter L, going down, thick. Going up, really light. And use the tip of your brush, just like that. Another letter that's fun to practice is going to be letter O. So you're going to go down. This is your thick stroke. And then you're going to go up. This is where your thin stroke is going to be. Like that. And notice how I kind of stopped in the middle of my line. Please know that you don't always have to finish one whole stroke. Because when you're lettering, when you're doing hand lettering or brush lettering, however you want to call it, remember that you are drawing. You're drawing your letters. You're really not writing. We're not doing a handwriting. Notice my handwriting looks so different from my hand lettering. Because my hand lettering, I am really being very intentional with my every stroke. And, you know, I always remind everyone that it's one stroke after the other. I'm going to show you how I'm going to letter my name with brush calligraphy. So it starts with an L. So I'm going to write downstroke towards me. So it's thick, applying my heavy pressure. I stop there. You don't have to you don't have to keep going and write it like how you would do a regular script. You know, I stopped in there. I'm going to pick it up from there and then apply my pressure again. Okay. And then go up thin, and then go down thick, and then go up. I'll stop there, right? One letter at a time, but really it's just one stroke at a time, because look, this is one, stop here, kind of pause in there if you like, and then go up, bring it up from there, right? Let's come back in, apply pressure, ease on my pressure, using the tip of my brush, and then here, going down. Sometimes when I'm practicing, I feel like I can practice much better when it comes to bigger letters, because I can really apply pressure in there when I need to, and it's much easier to get those thinner lines. So, you know, while you're practicing, find out what's the most comfortable to you and stick to that. You know, I understand that when we're attending classes and getting, you know, learning from workshops, we're all different, you know, each of us are different, and you might find a better way that will suit you much better than how I am doing it. But the tips that I'd like for you to remember is, you know, make sure that this is comfortable, you're one stroke at a time. And then the thing that you're going to have to keep reminding yourself when you're new to this is thin going up, thick going down, thin going up, thick going down. So kind of just like repetition. Repetition is the key to this. All right. So I am going to go and practice now how to do my letters. But before I do that, I want to share with you real quick, because there's a hack that I'm going to share with you because it is not easy to do the thin and thick. I know. Oh my gosh. Trust me, it was very frustrating in the beginning and I almost gave up. But I'm here to let you know, please, please don't give up because you can do it. Now, the hack that I'm going to share with you is really going to change it. So here I have a Pitt Artist pen, the light indigo in 220. Why I would recommend the Pitt Artist pen? Because Pitt Artist pens, these are India ink. Okay, what does India ink mean? India ink, this will dry waterproof. That means we can use this as our base and apply the watercolors on top, and this will not interfere with the colors that we picked. So this will not move. This first layer will stay in there, and we can watercolor on top of the letters that we just drew. Now, if you missed our class last week, was it last week or a week before, when we did the faux calligraphy? The faux calligraphy is really important if you are struggling with the brush calligraphy because of the thin and thick lines. So I'm going to show you two different ways. I'm going to apply it I'm going to write it regularly how I would normally write with my brush pen, and I'll show you how you can do it with the faux calligraphy style. So I'll just start with the word just love. Okay. So again, kind of same thing, thin and light going up and thick and heavy going down. So just write it down, love. Simple. Okay. I know it's really hard to see because this is really light because I don't want it to be dark because I know I'm going to cut watercolor on top of this, right? Leslie, I just mentioned, sorry, because it's really, really light. This is the Pitt Artist pen in light indigo. There it goes. It's in the name. Okay, so for the faux calligraphy, so we've written the word love. Don't worry about your pressure. Just write it the way you would script it, all right? Love, just using your own hand writing, but make it a little fancy. You know, have some spaces in between. All right, so this time, now that you've understood where you're going to apply your thick strokes, knowing that, oh, yeah, that's right. Every time I would go down, that would be where my thick strokes are. So mentally retrace where you started. All right, I know that here I wrote this going down. So I'm going to add another line or just another stroke here on the right side and make it a little thicker, right? Just make it thicker. There we go. And then by mentally retracing again how I wrote it, this one's going up, so we'll leave it to that. That should be thin. Now this one, okay, this one has to be thicker. So I'm going to add just a little extra stroke over there to make that much thicker, right? This one going up, okay, I don't need to do that. This one is just, doesn't have to be thick. This one right here, I went down, so this one has to be thicker. Now I'm just adding stroke and from, you know, beside the original stroke that we did it, we're just making it much thicker. Right, now I'm going up again, right, going down, maybe just a little bit here. All right, this one going down. All right, I have to go make this one thicker, this one. And to make this fancy, I'm going to make my little tail, even though it's going up this way, but it's my last stroke, I want to thicken up just the end part of it. All right, so there, we made a brush calligraphy without having to worry about the pressure, the thin and thick, and like, that's just too much. All right, okay, so what you can do, just give it a little bit of time to dry, and my hands have watercolor everywhere. My markers have watercolors now. I have the happy mess here. Okay, so now that we have that, we don't have to worry about applying pressure using this pretty a little difficult brush pen. I know, I understand the struggle. Now we can just watercolor on top of this one. And the light indigo marker Pitt Artist pen is not moving. It's not going anywhere. So I want to start with my cobalt green. So just dip a little bit of, dip your brush in the water and then dip over here in your watercolor remember, when your consistency is too watery, that means, well, it's too much water. So make sure that you get just that right consistency. It's not too thick, not too, it's kind of like Goldilocks, not too thick, not too runny. All right. So I'm just going to go over here and start coloring my letter L first. So see how I'm not worrying about the pressure. I'm just going to color this with watercolors. Okay. I'll stop over there. I'm going to clean my brush. This time I'm going to get a little bit of that yellow. A little goes a long way. A little goes a long way. Now I'm going to start from the bottom first. I feel like I'm having too much water. That's why a paper towel is really handy to kind of dry your brush and get those excess water. All right. I'm going to go bring this up to this stroke over here. Now we do have a handout of that lettering that we have, and you can practice that at home. So now that we have the yellow and the blue, I'm just cleaning my brush here and just dipping it again. And then I'm going to bring down that blue and meet with the yellow. So we know now that when we mix that, we're going to get this green color over here. So we're just going to mix right there. Right? And then go over it again. Like that. I'm going to get the emerald green and then just start. So that's one way. I wanted to show you that because while you're practicing your brush calligraphy skill, you know, getting frustrated with the thin and thick lines, I wanted you to see that there are other ways that you can do this. Okay, so now that we have that, I'm going to go do the together is better. Zoom out before, oh, that's my sketch pad. So I have all my art in here. Okay. All right. We'll find one here. There we go. All right. Let me see. Okay. Now, I know it's going to be a little bit of a struggle because, especially if you're new with a brush pen, but it's okay. Just kind of as much as you can, write along with me. But just remember within your head, the thin going up, thick going down. Okay, so I'm going to start with my yellow over here. What you can do also with the help of your handy dandy pencil, you can always sketch your words first. And it's always nice because you can work your spacing. You don't have to worry about, you know, much of your strokes, where you're going. So really a pencil is going to be your best friend. So I'm just going to write the word together first. So just light sketch, sketching lightly. There we go. So I'm just going to write the word together. And this way, I know my spaces. I won't have to write too big because I have the tendency to write super big sometimes. So here I have my guide. So sketching is going to be your best friend, whether you're drawing or, you know, just doing lettering like this. So I have my word together. It's really light, guys. I'm sorry, you're not going to see it very well because I'm just sketching here, but let me zoom in real quick so you can see. All right, so I have my word together. Now I have my G over here, and this is where sketching is really, really helpful. I feel like, you know what, that's a little too big of a loop. Then we can always adjust that. And if you did this in marker already, then you won't be able to erase it. That's why practice using a pencil first. Here we go. I have the word G. Now I can put in my is over here. My word is together. Letter I. And then my letter S. And then this is where you can add your loops and swashes if you'd like. So I can have here, bring this out over here, and then add my dot over there. We can add more fancy stuff here and just do that. Sometimes it gets busy, so I try to make it as simple as I can because the beautiful thin and thick lines will already give those fancy swashes that we want. So together is better. So now that I did that, right, I feel like, okay, where am I going to put my letter B because I adjusted this too much? And so again, sketching. So that's why I sketch lightly because I do a lot of erasing. And try not to really apply pressure when you're erasing, especially if you're using watercolor paper, because you don't want to hurt the texture of your paper also. Then it's going to affect the way your colors are going to sit on top of your paper. So I try my hardest not to, even though I have really heavy hands. All right, so I have together. Now I'm going to do the letter B. Start this, going up and going down, and then here, letter B, that, E, T, T, E. Now, my way of lettering is really playful. I like to call it, well, other people call it first, but this is called the bounce lettering. And I really love that it's not structured, it's not super perfect. It's just imperfectly perfect, just like us, just like life. So that's how I like to approach my lettering style. So some letters are bigger than the other. It's super fun. Now, to be counterproductive, I'm going to get my eraser here, my kneadable eraser, and I really love this thing. Kind of like kiss and lift. So I'm just erasing this way so I don't hurt the paper. So if you don't have a kneadable eraser, please get one. You're gonna love it. I also like to roll this like this, like that, applying pressure while I'm rolling. So it's just picking up those pencil marks. All right. So now that we have that, I feel like I'm good with my sketch. Remember that watercolor is translucent. So if you're not going to apply a very thick coat of the watercolor, know that the sketches might show up. So just keep that in mind. Be mindful of that because transparency is a watercolor's characteristic. All right, so I feel like I'm okay. Even if it shows up a little bit, we have dark colors in here anyways. I'm pretty sure you can't see it now. I still can. Okay. All right, I'm going to start with my yellow. We're going to do one letter at a time, okay? Don't worry too much about the thin and the thick lines this time because guess what? You can always come back in and add another stroke beside it to make it a little thicker. So if you feel like you don't have enough, you can't really tell the difference from your thin and thick lines, it's all right. We can always add another stroke to make one letter thicker than the other or one stroke thicker than the other. So I don't want you to stress about that. Let's just play and finish this piece together. All right, because I'm so cheesy, together is better. Here we go. So I dipped it in the water, dipped it in my watercolors. You might not be able to see my watercolors. It's okay. All right, so T, I'm gonna go really slow because I have my guide now. So I'm just gonna go bring this down and then bring it up. All right. I am dipping in that burnt orange that I mixed. Just gonna dip there. to my letter O. Bring it down here. Just letter G. Picking up my yellow. Just kind of letting those colors touch. Let me zoom in real quick so you guys can really see. Because that's the beauty of watercolor. Let those colors, look at that. This and then fix this, even if I have the yellow here because I was meaning to blend them anyways. That. It's already super pretty. Clean my brush, dipping in the orange. Too much water can ruin your piece, so just be mindful of that. So that, I'm not happy with. This is super close, but what can we do? Things like that happen. All right, so we're going to come back in here and make this a little thicker. So when you feel like, you know what, I feel like I want to make this a little thicker because I didn't get the right size the first time around. So now I'm just going to dip in my yellow. I definitely contaminated my yellow already. So make sure you have a palette. If you're using a watercolor palette, don't mix your colors, don't cross-contaminate it. You just use a palette like this, you know, a plastic palette on the side and combine your colors. So that if you're not meaning to, I'm pretty sure you're not going to mean to blend them together in that color. So you have your palette together. All right, cleaning my brush. I'm going to go over my yellow again. We're going to add a little bit more here later. So here I have this loop over here. I feel like I'm just going to go really, really slow. Notice how slow I'm going, because if you're going to visit my Instagram, all of my videos are sped up. So when you see other people's video also, please know that, you know, a lot of these videos, like myself, it's edited to make it fast because there's a time limit on social media. But in real time, this is how slow I really work. So whether I'm working for a piece for myself or for a company, it takes a long time. That's why sometimes some of our classes here on Michael's, we don't have enough time because it's really hard to, you know, explain everything and share all of my, you know, tips and tricks with all of you. It takes a little bit of time, but sometimes when you go too fast, it's hard to follow along. So I'm trying my hardest to be as efficient and as fast as I can, also being mindful of my time. All right, here, letter R. So, but I just want you to pay attention how I'm doing my strokes. It's just little at a time. See? Just little at a time here. All right. One at a time. Then we're going to add a little bit of thickness over here. So see how I just added that? And I'm going to bring this down. There. And I'm going to add the dark orange for the letter T. So dipping it over here. So I'm more comfortable going down than going up. So I'm going to begin from the top of my stroke over here, like this. And bring it down like that. Now I'm going to clean up my strokes. I'll add thickness here like what we did in the letter R. There. Just like that. Like that. And then I'll do the same over here. Pick up a little bit of my color. I'm going to take it from here actually, but just following the stroke that I already did. And then add an extra one in here, and then I'll fill in that area right there. All right. So we have the word together already. Now, pause and look at your lettering this time around. See if there are other areas in here that you want to add thickness to it. The thing with watercolor, since we're blending the colors together, it could be a little difficult to do that, to use the same color and get that same vibrant the tone of that color that we use. This one, I feel like I can add a little bit more here because I feel like it's thick in here and too thin in there. So since I know that this is just an orange color, plain burnt orange, so I can just slowly add thin strokes, one little tiny strokes at a time. And just really allowing that tip of the brush to do its work, right? But by applying really light pressure and being mindful, okay, and I can just follow along the original stroke that we did earlier. I'll come back in there and just kind of fix a little bit here and there, but altogether, I feel like I'm happy. I just want to add a little bit more here. So I'm going to grab the same color. So since here, this is just a solid color like the orange or like the letter R in here. So I just kind of use the orange in here. I'm pretty confident that it's going to be okay. So I'll just add stroke one bit at a time, bringing it down, making it a little thicker, and then just stop there because I'm happy with the thin stroke that we have or what we did, right? Like that. Okay, so now that we have together is better. Now we'll do the word is. For this, I want to do the yellow and the olive green color. So I'm going to just add a little bit of yellow since we used a lot of it. Just a little bit. Oops. Of course, I did use a lot again. All right. Just add some water in here. Just going to blend it with the water. Like that. Here we go. It's going to be pretty. I'm going to clean my brush just a little bit because I want to water down the green that we use. It's thickening up, but it's watercolor, so you can reactivate it. I don't know where my spray is. I usually have a water bottle in here with a spray mister because that's the way to reactivate those paints. Now, if this is an acrylic or an acrylic wash, you won't be able to use this anymore. But since we're using watercolors, super fun because you can just wet it again and then reactivate your paint. All right, I feel like this is going to be okay. Just going to clean my brush again. So having 2 bottles of water or bowls of water is really helpful because you can thoroughly clean your brush that way. Here we go. Suzanne is asking if there's other, no ma'am, so that's going to be the only page in the handout. So the together is better so that you can just kind of look around it and practice your lettering that way. But I'm pretty sure we're going to do this again in some other classes. So we're going to go through the same thing. And for the next class, I'll make sure that we'll have a handout with some sample letters so that you guys can practice with it. All right, so I'm just dipping pure yellow in here. I'm just making this thick because I'm going down. So just adding one little tiny stroke at a time. You're kind of like, really, you're painting, you're drawing, you know? So just take your time, just like that. I'll wash my brush and then dip it in the green. I want you to see this because it's really fun seeing them blend together. Okay, so from here, I'm going to take it from here and then here. I know that I'm going down here, so I know that I need to apply a little bit of pressure, but just one little tiny stroke after the other, instead of just one big swoop. Know that I can just do this because I have my pencil marks in here and I know where my strokes are going. So just bringing all the colors down and using the tip of my brush to get a thin line, and by applying light pressure. Okay, bring this out right here, just following along those sketches that we made. Okay, now this one, I know I want this to be thicker to match the look of the rest of our letters. So I just added that other stroke and just filled that spot in. And then here you can just start cleaning up your lines if you're not happy with them. So just go one little stroke at a time after the other. This one, I want to add a little bit of swash in here. So I'm just going to use the tip of my brush and just doing one little tiny stroke at a time. Just like that. See? All right. Now that we have that, I'm going to add a little bit more water in here. Okay, and I will water down my cobalt blue as well. Just adding water in here. Just like that. Okay. Clean, clean. Oops, look at that. We have a happy mess here. Let's do this. Use your paper towel to just smudge it, but we're going to add a little bit of leaves in there anyway, so I'm not too worried about that. And it's not a mess. It's a happy accident. That's what Bob Ross said. All right, so just dipping it in my green this time. I'm going to go here, one stroke after the other. Ooh. Bringing it down. Now, once you get more comfortable with your strokes, if you feel like you can do that one stroke already in one time, by all means, please do so. All right. But to me, I was just more confident here because it's just one straight line. But sometimes I still got to stop in the middle. It just depends on if I've been writing for a while and, you know, my hands are really in shape. Lack of better words. I had a great practice, right? Picking up a little bit of that cobalt blue here. Look at that. Ooh, the colors are blending together. I don't think I've ever mixed this cobalt blue with this olive green, but it's okay. Here, I feel like this is too thin, so I'm just going to add another stroke on the side of this one. Bring it up. There. Like that. Add that, and you know what? I'm going to make a mix there. We have this really deep green now, and I mix the two colors. Cleaning it. I want more warmth in here, so I'm going to go back to the yellow. Back in there, the green. So when we go down here, applying pressure to get that thick line, and then ease up over here. Go back to the blue, a little bit of the blue, add it over there to add depth to that color, and bring it up. Add my thickness. Sometimes I feel like I create too much of a thick strokes, and it's hard to correct that. When it's a thinner stroke, I feel like it's much better to correct it because you can just add another stroke beside it, you know, and then it's going to look great. So just be careful when you're doing your thick strokes, because especially when you're adding when you're adding more strokes to make it thicker, because I have a tendency to don't know when to stop. It's kind of like, okay, I know it's thick already, but you just kind of keep going. So just be mindful. All right. Right now, oh, we're almost done. We have 3 minutes left, but I want to add a little bit of leaves. Remember when I was showing you how you apply pressure to get the thick lines? When you're drawing your leaves, it's going to be the same way. To create those little stalk like this, just use the tip of your brush. Just go really light like that. And then light. Know where you want your leaves to go here. And then we're going to follow that direction later. So here, I'm going to start, use the belly. First start with a tip and then apply pressure on your brush. Go slow and then gently lift your brush to create that sharper point, right? So let's do that again. Let's start with the tip of your brush. Tip, like that. Apply a little bit of pressure to create your thick lines. And then gently, gently, slowly just lift, just like that. So that's how you create those leaves. And then you can just fill in the colors if you'd like. So same here. I'm just going to keep going. Practice with that. Even practice with just leaves, because leaves are really a great way to practice your thin and thick strokes. And I think it's really therapeutic also, just kind of like doing the same thing over and over but applying different pressure. And that's the way to practice your thin and thick. I'm just going to go back in and add a little bit here. Like that. If you're really serious about the watercolor, make sure to use really watercolor paper when you're doing this, because you're going to have a much better experience too when you're doing that. Because I feel like you can always practice with just, very inexpensive watercolors, but if you're not using the right paper, or even, the other way around, vice versa, you feel like you've invested in really high quality watercolors, but then you're not using a great paper, you're still not going to enjoy the experience. So make sure that you try and do both. Get, a good quality pigment. If you're just going to use it for hobby and all that, then don't worry about too much of the light fastness and all that. But as long as you get like rich colors and it won't get muddy and all that, those are the things to consider. But if you have any questions for me, I would like to answer a little bit of them before I say goodbye, but I'm going to switch over to the front facing camera. Here we go. So if you have any questions, I'll go through them real quick, but if not, here we go. But if not, I want to thank every single one of you for joining us today. I hope that this was helpful. If you have any questions further along with your journey of lettering, you can always find us online, Faber-Castell USA. My name is Mommy Lay online, so send me a message and all that. I'd be happy to help you. But also make sure to check out our future classes and schedules, because we're going to have a whole lot of learning to do. But here we go. Thank you so much, everybody. Also, before I forget, tomorrow is November 11th. I would like to greet members of the family and all the veterans who served. Happy Veterans Day. And to all the family, thank you for all your sacrifices. Thank you so much. So God bless you all, and we'll see you in the next class. Bye, everyone.